Would you do just a tiny bit of extra work if you knew it had a huge impact on the success of your song? I'm going to lay out 6 things in this video that can help make your song a success and get you paid for it. I've done these 6 things for over 200 plus songs, which have accumulated tens of thousands in royalties now. So what is the first thing that most people miss? Well, years ago, when I bounced out my songs from Logic, I was always unhappy with how they sounded compared to the songs I heard on the radio. A friend of mine at the time asked me, are you mastering your songs? Essentially, are you making sure your songs are loud enough for online streaming? Simple as that. I started using a limiter to boost the volume of my tracks, but I still wasn't sure if they were loud enough until I found this free service, which I'm going to mention shortly. So the first key thing you want to do is make sure your song is loud enough. Literally just putting a limiter on your stereo out bus will make your song louder, and louder is better. Obviously, don't get carried away with this. It's not going to fix everything. So how do you know if your song is loud enough though for Spotify or Apple Music, for example? I like to use this free online resource called Loudness Penalty. So follow along and go to loudnesspenalty.com and upload your song here. Let's take an example and upload one of my most recent songs. So what do these numbers mean? This negative 6.7 number is how much Spotify is going to turn down the volume of my song. So is this a bad thing? No, not necessarily. Like, a lot of pop music have similar results. I've seen Spotify turn tracks down even more than this. You really have to take into consideration your genre and the dynamic range you'd like to keep in your song. However, one thing that you might want to avoid is having Spotify actually turn up the volume of your song. So this is going to happen when you don't master your song or you don't add a limiter. For example, if I add a song to loudnesspenalty.com here without a limiter, you're going to see that Spotify will raise the volume of this track with their algorithm, which is up to them how it sounds, right? Not you. So I'd rather avoid that situation where I see a positive number here. So the second key thing you want to do after export actually levels this one up even more, and it's powerful because I've often fixed my songs after doing this. So after a long day of producing, I'll export my song and upload it to Google Drive. So after a good night's rest, I'm going to have a fresh ear's listen to the song on different devices. And surprisingly, the first device that I want to listen to it on is the iPhone speaker itself. It doesn't sound great, but it really helps me dial in on what to focus on. I'm not distracted by that juicy low end that comes from a good set of speakers, right? The second device, I guess you could say, would be the car speaker. People talk bad about car mixes, like how their mixes don't translate to their car, but for me, my mixes always sound awesome in my Hyundai Santa Fe. I don't know why, maybe it has a good system or something, but to me, the check in the car is less about the mix, but more about the vibe check, because a lot of people listen to music in the car, and I want to make sure when I'm driving that it just works, the song, and it's a vibe. So the next key thing you're going to want to do after export could actually really make or break your song. Sadly, I've thrown out some songs after doing this step, but in the end, it's made me a lot better. So if I was to tell you to make a delicious meal for the King of England, would you get someone to test the meal before the king actually sits down and eats it? I hope you said yes. And hey, I'm no monarchist, I'm still Canadian, but I'd like to please the king, right? So if you want to be sure you're set up for the most success for your song, then you should get someone else you trust to listen to it. The keyword here is someone you trust, and not just someone random that's going to give you, empty positive feedback. In a perfect world, get the opinion though of 2 specific people. One, someone who doesn't have a background in music, because they're not going to know what to say. Like, they're not going to say, oh, dip 200 hertz at a negative 2 dB. They're just going to be like, yeah, this is cool, or don't really like it. So ask your husband, wife, girlfriend, or boyfriend. 2, get the feedback of someone with a technical background. If you don't know anyone, try to find a community of songwriters online. And shameless plug here, join the Make Your Music community. I can personally give you feedback on your music and mixes, or I can help connect you someone who can. If not this, consider looking up your local studio. I'm sure if you reach out with a kind message that they'd be willing to give your track a listen and provide some initial feedback. It's worth a shot. Next, I'm going to show you one of the most convincing ways to find out what parts of your song are the most interesting and what parts could use some extra attention. So before COVID, I was an active touring singer-songwriter playing shows all over Europe and Canada. When COVID hit, brutal times, I stopped playing and I immediately felt the missing spark in my songwriting. Whenever I introduce a new song to a live audience, I can immediately feel a vibe, right? And see how people are engaging to it, how they're listening to it, and honestly where I'm losing them. It's the perfect real-time feedback system that is really hard to fake. So if you can, play your song to a live audience, and it's going to really help you see the good parts and the bad parts too. But how do you play your song live if you don't play at all and you're not like a touring artist, or you're maybe not even confident enough? You muscle up enough courage and get out to your local open mic. Every city has one. This is going to make you feel good after you actually do it, because you're just going to get a rush of endorphins, but you'll also get an idea of how people interact with your song. Keep in mind though, the first time you play it at an open mic, everyone is just so encouraging anyways that you don't want to take all the positive feedback at face value, because people are just going to be happy for you that you played your song anyways. But notice when you're playing, where are people turning their heads, losing distraction? Where do people pop up to see where they might be interested in something? So a lot of the answers to these questions might lie in the physical performance and your demeanor on stage, and that might be hard to rebuild into a production. But the feedback is good nevertheless, because you can see maybe you might want to extend a chorus or make a verse smaller because you were losing people because you wrote it too long. The feedback here is, I think, solid nevertheless. Now this brings us to the next key thing, which is ultimately going to get your music out to the world and get you paid for it. Years ago, I didn't understand the complexities of the music distribution world, but after being involved in it for many years now, it's much less confusing than you might think. What you need, first off, is a music distributor. Don't be overwhelmed with all the options there are, because there are a lot. At the end of the day, they all do the same thing. They get your music on Spotify and other streaming services. I've had experience with DistroKid and TuneCore. I can recommend both of these. Actually, shameless plug, I have some discount links in the description there, but just try one out. You can always switch later if you think you've made a bad choice. But when you are looking for a music distributor, is there something you should pay attention to when signing up to one? And yes, pay attention to how you get paid. A lot of them will offer you 100% of your music royalties or give you a share of your royalties, anywhere from 85 to 90%. Both of these options have pros and cons. If you're brand new, you might consider giving up some of your royalties in order to get free music distribution. However, on the other hand, if you have been in this world for a long time and you're going to release a lot of music and you're going to generate lots of streams, then it's nice to get 100% of those royalties. Which brings us to the final point here is, are there other services that you need to register to collect your royalties? Yes, there are two specific ones you should look into. The first is a PRO, otherwise known as a performance rights organization. The PRO in Canada, which I'm signed up to, is SOCAN. Popular options in the US are BMI or ASCAP. These organizations will pay you whenever your song is broadcast in public, like on the radio or even a live performance. Like if you go and play a live show in your city and you charge a ticket price, you're going to get paid for that, not just hopefully the ticket sales you made, but the PRO is going to send you some money too. It's important to know though, for you to get paid, you actually need to be the songwriter to get these royalties though. By the way, they're free to sign up. The other free resource that you should sign up to if you're playing the instruments on your record is Sound Exchange. Sound Exchange pays out the royalties to whoever is like playing on the record. I just got a check from them last week for $200. Not bad, right? The thing is though, even if you do manage to get all your royalties in check and set up correctly, you're still gonna have to keep writing songs to keep fueling the fire, to keep getting better, right? So watch this video right here and I'll show you 3 mistakes that could be ruining your songwriting, how to tackle them so you level up after every song you create.